All right, so let's talk about MJ's stealth missions in Spider-Man 2. Apparently, there's an author here that writes, and this is Polygon, by the way. So this is actually, in my opinion, quite surprising and shocking to see that someone in Polygon was allowed to write this article. Please, Spider-Man games, stop making me play Mary Jane's stealth missions. It appears that these missions seem to be somewhat forced. And by the way, I'm going to show some footage from her stealth missions. So keep that in mind. If you don't want any spoilers, you might want to just avert your eyes. I'll show some for a few seconds and then I'll run an analysis that I want to talk about. So apparently, these missions seem to be just heavily scripted in a sense. They don't necessarily have too much of variation. I think this is probably what a lot of people have, in a sense, alluded to, because everything is almost set dressing for the most part, and it seems almost irrelevant because a game like this has both Spider-Man, and the likelihood that both of them will be tied up or, in a sense, busy, that they cannot attend to a stealth mission that has a bunch of enemies that are very dangerous, and then it is up to Mary Jane, is already, in a sense, unbelievable in an unbelievable world, anyways. And so this is something that, we get to see. Also, she takes a shot to the arm in this place. They say it's a tranquilizer, but it doesn't really knock her out. She just pulls it out and keeps running. The problem with this is, if you actually consider, say, stealth missions in some other video games, like, say, the Arkham games, or say, even a game like Gotham Knights or whatever, you will realize that, stealth is, in a sense, done somewhat better. You can actually get better stealth, even though many people may say Gotham Knights stealth missions are, this or that. I mean, they're still better than Mary Jane's, stealth missions. And for the most part, once you learn the stealth system in Gotham Knights, you'll just realize that, it's just as good as any other stealth system that you put your hands on, especially when you consider the fact that each knight, is very unique in the way they approach stealth. In fact, Batgirl is just, freaking fantastic. She's just amazing in the way she runs stealth because she has tech. She has access to a lot of really cool stuff in the way that she approaches, the game. So one thing I usually, tell people is you just have to kind of, like, in a sense, maybe be, I don't know, patient with the developers as to what it is that they're trying to do. And that was in the first or in the last Spider-Man game. We were like, okay, devs, what are you guys, playing at? And then now we're starting to see that, okay, they have this MJ mission that is absolutely forced, because not only do we have MJ in this game that could be a third person in terms of substitute, we have another character, and I don't want to say too much, but there are three capable characters that were able to run this mission, and somehow it was left to Mary Jane to actually go do this mission. So already it's just so unbelievable. And then at the same time, it's not something that really did carry the organic aspect of things. If you were to, analyze it from that perspective, it just seemed really, really forced. So that's where I thought, as a gamer, it just didn't make any sense. And you could tell that they wanted to just throw Mary Jane in this movie, in this in this game. I guess that's a Freudian slip. And so that's probably one of the reasons that I see a lot of, comments here and there of people talking about it. So let's go ahead and look at the article so that way we can see what this, opinion is for, real briefly. So this person said, for the majority of my adult life, I've been a journalist, interviewing, reporting, researching, watching the best Dragon Ball Z fights on YouTube while I procrastinate on a deadline. I've done it all. Or maybe I haven't, because in Spider-Man 2, being a journalist almost exclusively invokes sneaking around and zapping mercenaries with a with a sci-fi stunt gun. This is something I have never done. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Of the many revisions of revisions that Insomniac Spider-Man 2018 made to comics lore, making Mary Jane Watson a journalist is one of my favorites. It gave the character an organic reason to intersect with Spidey's adventure, untangling the machinations of Martin Lee, Mr. Negative, via shoe leather investigation while her superpowered partner took on crooks with webs and bad jokes. What I didn't love was how this was expressed in gameplay. Stealth mission. And I think this is a valid concern. And even if they've been criticizing it from 2018, I think Insomniac should have paid a lot more attention to realize that this was probably going to be something that if it came up in the sequel, the direct sequel to it, that people were probably going to criticize it. So this says Spider-Man 2 continues this trend, and boy, do I hate it. This is partially a matter of preference. I'm of the mind that stealth should either be the primary focus of a game or an optional way to engage with an encounter. There are few things that annoy me more than an action game that grinds to a halt in order to force a player to do stealth for a bit. Well, that's a preferential claim at the end of the day. I mean, but Gotham Knights, you could do stealth. You can move from stealth to, action. I mean, all the knights have their limitations if you were to kind of look at things in that way. The only person that can do 100% stealth is Robin. Robin can do a stealth takedown on almost anyone. Like, he's just fantastic in that way. So that's definitely something, you have to go ahead and pay very close attention to. But the other knights, they have other means, but they still have to, in a sense, when it comes to brutes and heavies, they have to come back and actually still, physically brawl with the other, characters in most situations. But at that point, there are missions in the Arkham games as well where there are brutes that you can't take down stealth wise. So I think it's fair game that, the character or the person that's playing has those two, restrictions for 100% stealth, or they can do a mix and match if they choose to. So this is probably what this person is saying. It says, let's go. It says, there are a few things that annoy more than a game grind to a halt in order to force people to do stealth. Intellectually, I understand why it could be a good idea. It's nice to break up the pacing rhythm to broaden the range of experiences a player will have in a game, but in practice, I almost always find it a drag. I think this is all still preference as to stealth in general. Stealth sections are also a very poor way to engage with Mary Jane's role in Spider-Man 2's story. MJ is a journalist, and while that can involve being a snoop, it's not particularly novel or engaging, especially when just about every one of the Sony's big marquee games lands on the rickety crutch. There aren't even any compelling, unique mechanics for these sections. Even though the game has bespoke mini-games for hydroponic farming and bee bodyguarding, Spider-Man 2 is full of light mystery and puzzle-solving elements, as well as quieter sections where the player just walks around as Miles or Peter to talk to folks. Hey, I said this before. Follow this person here. That really does bring the game to a screeching halt for the most part. Why can't MJ do that? Give her one of the bicycles that Peter gets to ride and let the player see the city up close from her perspective. Tell a story that Spider-Man can't. I think there's a lot of valid criticism here. I could go on reading the article, but I'm sure many of you kind of get the memo. You kind of see exactly what's going on. And I got to get, to work. Yes, I touch grass from time to time. But again, I understand that this may not necessarily be a big deal for a lot of people. But it appears that, even some Spider-Man, aficionados and non-aficionados still actually, have some kind of a contention with this system overall. And by the way, when I actually pulled this Polygon article, it is the softest criticism that I could actually find in regard to this matter. Does that make sense? Like, there are much harsher criticisms that are out there that, address this particular stealth system that, to be honest, if I were to pull them up, a lot of people will say, this is just pure, hatred of the stealth mechanic that is in, Mary Jane's, section or something like that. People are just going to say you're just hating on the game or whatnot. But I think it's valid criticism. In the 2018 game, a lot of people weren't too fond of it. And I'm not surprised to see that even, people that I would think would handle the game with soft gloves are also not fond of it. But let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching the video. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.